I was gone for a few days last week. I've got a lot to tell you about and a lot to talk about that I mean, frankly, I don't even know where to begin. But I do know that we'll be talking about a lot of fascinating folks here on the Independent Hotline. 877-55-DOBS, 877-55-DOBS. Oh, man, I just can't wait. I can't wait. We'll be talking about all the day's news on the Independent Hotline. And you better believe I'll be talking about Attorney General Eric Holder in just a moment here. But first, I've got to begin with Assistant Secretary of State Michael Posner. And what an idiotic, partisan, foolish statement this guy made on behalf of the United States government. Now, we've been talking about the new illegal immigration law out there in Arizona. My position I have made very clear. Because of the federal government's inaction over the past several administrations, Arizona's state government did what it had to do, and that is to enact a law on behalf of its citizens. About 10% of Arizona's population consists of illegal immigrants, somewhere between 10%, by the way, and there are higher estimates as well. The state's ranchers are constantly complaining about property theft and damage on their ranches. The schools, the hospitals in the state of Arizona are simply overcrowded and overwhelmed. The state of Arizona's jobs are being taken by, in many cases, illegal workers hired by illegal employers who are, quite naturally, trying to find the cheapest labor possible. It's what makes illegal immigration possible in the first place. It is truly it's a pathetic state of affairs, and Arizona did actually very late what it had to do, and certainly had every reason to do it much sooner. And there is no racial profiling in that law. It is, in fact, a law that compels just the opposite. But some lunatics on the left are boycotting the state and hyperbolically comparing that new law against illegal immigration to Nazi Germany. That's how mad the situation has become. But even more impressive, I think, here of late has been the fact that Jewish organizations, whether it's the ADL, whatever Jewish organization it might be, in normal times, and by that I mean times in which they are attacking the right, they would be having a fit about the comparison of what happened in Arizona to Nazi Germany. It is a mark of dishonor that they will carry for a very long time that they did not respond against those who would make such an outrageous, insensitive claim. Michael Posner, as I said, an official of this government, I turned my back for just a few days, and the next thing we know, there is an assistant secretary of state making horrible comments representing the United States as if he were an abject fool who had no superiors who had ever given him an order about either decorum, about protocol, and about acting in the nation's interest when representing the United States. I mean, it's unbelievable. This partisan fool, in recent human rights talks, actually apologized about the Arizona anti-illegal immigration law in discussions with the Chinese government. He specifically called it a human rights violation. And to which nation, of course, was he expressing this deep, deep regret? Communist China. Communist, you heard me right. Communist China. A country enforcing its own immigration laws, by the way, aggressively, I think it's fair to say. It is a regime that has murdered its citizens, and has constrained what few freedoms its citizens possess, and he is apologizing to them after taking a partisan position on a state law. Listen to an assistant secretary of state of the United States of America in his briefing last Friday.
Was there any areas in which China sort of turned the tables and raised its own complaints or concerns about U.S. practices around the globe or at home? Can you give some examples there?
Sure. I think, again, this goes back to Ambassador Huntsman's comment. part of a mature relationship is that you have an open discussion where you not only raise the other guy's problems, but you raise your own and you have a discussion about it. We did plenty of that. We had experts from the U.S. side, for example, yesterday talking about treatment of Muslim Americans in an immigration context. We had discussion of racial discrimination. We had a back and forth about how each of our societies are dealing with those sorts of questions.
Did the recently passed Arizona immigration law come up, and if so, did they bring it up or did you bring it up?
We brought it up early and often. It was mentioned in the first session, and as a troubling trend in our society, and an indication that we have to deal with issues of discrimination or potential discrimination, and that these are issues very much being debated in our own society.
Do you, now honestly, do you believe you just heard an Assistant Secretary of State of the United States government speaking? I mean, it's unbelievable. He brought it up early and often. Issues of discrimination, potential discrimination. Appropriately, the stuff of domestic public policy discussion in this country, horribly inappropriate as a matter of discussion in foreign relations and foreign policy of the United States government. Folks, I have believed for some time we've got a very serious problem with this administration. I have believed for a very long time that we have a very serious problem with a dysfunctional federal government that seems to be run by a bureaucracy with few ties to its political masters, and more than just a few departments, certainly leading among them the State Department, seemingly unaware that they work for the American people, act in the U.S. interest, and you have an Assistant Secretary of State. We need to find out as much about Michael Posner as we possibly can. And to hear that little voice talking about such big issues is disconcerting. It may mean nothing, but the quality of the discussion certainly does. I cannot imagine what he thinks he's doing. Intentionally embarrassing the United States in discussions with a foreign power? Secretary Clinton, what in hell are you doing? What kind of department are you running? And if this man works for you, perhaps you could explain it better to all the rest of us who happen to be mere citizens.